Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Rich Clark, Guide to the Right Path. So this topic this week I'm going to talk about, because I'm talking about some of the myths, breaking down some of the myths of hypnotherapy. And this one is, why do people think hypnosis connects to the spirit world? So this breaking down this myth of hypnotherapy is, unfortunately to my chagrin, is I have to do this more than you'd think. It's actually tends to be quite draining sometimes. You have to explain this to a lot of clients, but I'm going to do this in a way of a video and explain a couple of my viewpoints and some ideas of historical background. As you'd think more people would be more open-minded. However, I'll break down the truths, where the myths came from, and so forth. So this belief that hypnosis connects to the spirit world, well, this belief that hypnosis connects to the spirit world has often stemmed from historical misunderstandings, religious fears, pop culture depictions, and New Age interpretations. So for clarification, I explain this as a disclaimer to all new clients. They ask, is hypnosis connected to the spirit world? And my answer is no, hypnosis is not spiritual or supernatural. Hypnosis is a proven psychological technique that helps you to access a focused, relaxed state of mind, like being deeply absorbed in a good book or movie. In this state, which is the subconscious state when you go into, or the trance state, your mind becomes more open to positive suggestions. And this is for your subconscious, which is 5% of the mind that controls 95% of the conscious mind, that help you to change your habits, reduce your anxiety, depression, trauma, etc., and improve your confidence. Now, some people mistakenly link hypnosis to spirits or the occult due to Hollywood movies or TV shows, misunderstanding in religious communities, New Age practices, example, pastliferegression, and so forth. But because hypnotherapy in the way I work is in a clinical setting, though it's online, there is no spirit contact, possession, or mind control. And you, the client, will always feel safe, aware, and fully in control. It's just simply a tool to help your mind work for you, not against you. So I'm going to now break down some of these ideas. This hypnosis idea connects to the spirit world myth comes from. So first of all is the historical and mystical roots. So ancient associations, the use of trance states, have existed for centuries in spiritual and religious rituals, e.g. shamanic journeys, mediumship, mystic trances, but there is a clear difference in how hypnosis is used. So for context, when modern hypnosis emerged in the 18th to 19th centuries, this was from Franz Mesmer and later James Braid. People at that time were still deeply spiritual. The idea of that was condemned by the main church in the Western world. Also, in the conquered British Empire conquest, the ancient religions were banned as far as India, China, in Australasia, and in Japan, and so forth. So, early hypnotic states were often seen as mystical or otherworldly because they didn't have the science to explain it. Now, plus remember, the majority of people until the early 20th century were still illiterate and not well read. Now, Franz Mesmer, who came up with mesmerization or mesmering, spoke of an invisible animal magnetism, something that felt supernatural, though not meant to be seen as spiritual. So this is some of the reasons why people think of this. Now, the big one is religious misinformation and fear. And this is a massive subject on this of why hypnosis is seen as connected to the spiritual world. And it's without any foundation, but I'm going to explain a few things. So certain religious groups, especially those who are very conservative or evangelical circles, have warned against hypnosis, equating with opening up yourself up to demonic influence, losing control of your soul, inviting spirits to possess or guide you. Now, this idea originally comes from England, but actually as well as Germany, as far back as the ideal against witchcraft in the 15th to 16th century, the supernatural and more. So originally the ideas of witches and witchcraft was to help with guidance for the religious clergy. Then they turned on it and they actually then blamed black cats as well. So that's where the idea, if they got rid of all the black cats, that's why the plague spread more, because they didn't have any cats to catch the rats. So there's another thing, is considering back in the 15th, 16th century, they fought people who were left-handed, where we always get this discrimination towards lefty people or left political people. They claimed were witches. Again, there was no scientific proof that this is what they claimed, and this is what the church proclaimed. They also believed that women without children, who were single, promiscuous, were also witches. And gladly, society isn't so backward, you'd think. But in the 18th, 19th century, further along, Indian and non-Western spiritualization and spirituality, Taoism and Vedic knowledge was also being translated into the English language. This interested academics in theology, literature, mathematics, who were not keen on the restrictions of the power of the Church of England had on society either. So to think of some literature greats, William Blake, who wrote about this in his issue in his poetry. In fact, William Blake, before he died, some of his actual later poems was seen as obscene because it was against the church and it got burned. Perhaps the most famous playwright and prior to the 20th century was also converted to Hinduism, and its ideals of vegetarianism in the UK was George Bernard Shaw, an Irish playwright. And there were many others too who were against the British Empire's methods too, especially the Irish literature geniuses of W.B. Yeats and so forth, due to the suppression that England had put on Ireland, banning Gaelic being spoken in their communities. And this so-called beliefs of hypnosis, even with the yoga opening yourself to demonic influence, are not grounded in any science or clinical experience. They have arisen from a fear of the unknown and a desire to protect their followers from perceived spiritual danger. Now, I can understand this, right? If people are fearful of something, they do this. But I don't agree with it from any position due to it's not warranted at all by any evidence. It is just literally hearsay and someone's believed it and it's now carried on. And perhaps this is why I think religion over time has less control over the populace. And it is on this last clinging form of idealism. And in my opinion, it's why the West is scared of Eastern philosophy, as well as is also scared of Islam, as it is the most unknown religion out of the Abrahamic religions. So the next issue of why hypnosis is seen as connected to the spirit world is pop culture and media, with movies and TVs often depict hypnosis or even a therapy as a gateway to past lives, ghosts or spirit guides, e.g. think of The Sixth Sense, Insidious, or even stage hypnosis. These sensationalized portrayals distort what hypnosis is and how it actually works. And the biggest category probably is New Age spirituality. Now, in some New Age circles, hypnosis is used for past life regression, spirit communication, and Akashic record access. Now, while these approaches may feel helpful for some people personally or symbolic understanding, they're not evidence-based, according to science, and often confuse the general public about what hypnosis is. Now, myself, I am trained as a past life regression practitioner. I can work with spirit communication and I can work with the Akashic records for people as I'm trained in this. But mainly, I do not use it for therapeutic reasons as a hypnotherapist. You have to know when to use tools correctly and apply it. Plus, you have to be respectful to the client's belief systems, even if it doesn't align with your own. And plus, again, this goes against some people's principles such as tarot reading, mediumship, future life regression, and so forth. But the idea is you can balance the two. I have the experience to balance the two when a client needs it. So the truth with clinical hypnosis, which is what I mainly talk about as the spirit world, is hypnotherapy is a psychological tool, not a spiritual one. It involves focused attention, relaxation, and suggestion. And this in turn helps people to change their habits, overcome their fears, manage their pain, and reframe their beliefs. The client never loses control, and there's no spirit world connection involved unless someone actively chooses to bring that belief system into their session. Again, this is all consulted with the client in a free discovery call I set. So what's the solution with this, without whether hypnosis is connected to the spirit world? Well, if you want to discuss it more, and I will be quite happy to discuss it in a talk or so forth, but if you want to do a session with me, please book a free discovery call at www.richclark.net and see together how we can get you back on the right path. Now, also as a society, we need to discuss hypnotherapy and its effectiveness away from negativity. Because the way we can only fix, in my opinion, through evidence and through data, what we have with hypnosis and the amount of sessions we have, is to fix anxiety, depression, trauma issues, and relationships. If we can't fix these with therapy and get better recommendations, instead people will lead to escapism. And so we have to balance this out. So if people do not believe in hypnosis, fair enough. But if they're not willing to discuss it, then I do have an issue with it, because to me, you're coming from a point of view which to me isn't very open. And there are many ways of just sort of one linear way. There's loads of ways of how to help people. And again, it is always up to you. So until next time, I shall speak to you soon.